Shalom. Our Torah portion this week is Pikudei. It's the last portion in the book of Exodus. And this Sedra brings to a conclusion not only the book of Exodus, it brings to a conclusion a number of Sedras that have dealt with the building of the Mishkan. Pikudei literally means, or Pikudei HaMishkan literally means an accounting or a bookkeeping of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. Now, bookkeeping and accounting are subjects that don't stimulate one's imagination, and yet the Torah believes them to be so important that it dedicates at least the beginning of this Sedra to the process of accounting for every single contribution made in that project. Let's take a look at what it says in the Hebrew and in the English. Eli Pikudei HaMishkan, Mishkan HaEdut Asher Fukad Al Pi Moshe, Avodat HaLevi'im B'Yad Itamar Ben Aharon HaKohen. These are the records of the tabernacle of the pact, which were drawn up at Moses' bidding. The work of the Levites under the direction of Itamar, son of Aaron, the priest. And then we skip down here to verse 24. All the gold that was used for the work, in all the work of the sanctuary, the elevation offering of gold came to 29 talents and 703 shekels by the sanctuary weight. The silver of those of the community who were recorded came to 100 talents and 1,775 shekels by the sanctuary weight. And it goes on to list the weights and the number of each category of offering that was made. Now, what's so interesting about this is that God did not require Moses to make this accounting. It seems that Moses did this on his own accord. There is a rabbinic principle. It's called Lifnim Mishurat Hadin, which means going beyond what is required by the law. Nachmanides, the 13th century Jewish thinker, refers this to Numbers 32:22, where it says, "You shall be guiltless before the Eternal and before Israel." In other words, you shall be concerned about the appearances of your public conduct. Here Moses understood that it was not enough just to do the right thing, but he had the need to be transparent. He had the need to appear in the eyes of the public to be righteous, and he was a righteous man. The Midrash raises the question of why Moses bothered making this long, some might say a boring listing of all of the accounts of the Mishkan, and it gives a couple of answers. One Midrash suggests that there was a certain amount of grumbling among the Israelites. Moses may have overheard one Israelite saying, "Look at Moses. He's gained a bit of weight. Look at the size of his neck and the size of his thighs." Moses, of course, was a man who had some wealth. He wasn't incredibly wealthy, but he wasn't poor on the other hand. And maybe he was gaining a little bit of what we call middle age spread. And so what were some Israelites saying? They were saying, this Moses is getting fat. He's getting wealthy on account of our contributions. And of course, Moses wanted to put an end to that sort of speculation. There's another midrash, and if the account of this midrash is true, it was probably of even more concern to Moses than the first midrash. In this midrash, again, someone implies, gossips about Moses perhaps having skimmed from the contributions made to the Mishkan, and another person shuts him up, says, "Shush, fool! Don't you understand that it's common practice for the top man who is in charge of these collections to become wealthy as a result?" If Moses heard a term like, or an explanation like this, if he heard something like this, it must have really bothered him, because it implied that there should be a certain acceptance of a level of corruption in public life. That, of course, the top guys are going to steal. Moses couldn't abide by this. And he wanted to set a level of ethical conduct on the leadership of Israel. And so we see in the Talmud that there is a statement that the Levites, those people who worked in the temple, were instructed never to make private use of any of the ritual objects or to gain any personal profit from the sacrifices that were made in the temple. That they should go beyond the requirement of the law, and they should not only be righteous, but have the appearance of being righteous. Later on, we're told in another midrash, and this concept is expanded in codes of Jewish law, that in public life, you should never have a situation in which one person has control of the community's money. It shouldn't be two people. It should be at least three, and perhaps even more, to keep an eye on each other and to keep each other honest. So a principle is laid down that not only should leadership, and I would say leadership anywhere, in a congregation, on Wall Street, in banks, in business, are leaders who look after other people's money should, of course, be honest. They should be transparent, and they should be accountable. This is great practical wisdom growing out of this week's Torah portion. Well, I hope that you will read this week's Torah portion and come to your own conclusion. Shabbat Shalom.